and welcome to this episode of Season 5 of the Dr. Tech Show, where myself, Pauline Roche, and Sweyn Hunter, and often guests, talk about digital topics, including the world of online communications and digital inclusion, in a show which was the brainchild of digital storyteller, the late John Popham. And I really missed him today. I really would have liked live tweeting and John's inimitable style for the Lloyds Bank Consumer Digital Index 2024 report launch. But more about that later. Sweyn, how are you and how's the weather been this week where you are?
I'm very fine, very well, thank you. And the weather has been fine-ish. We've had gales, we've had snow, we've had sleet, but today it's cold. And again, I keep saying this every week, Monday mornings seem to be still and windless, which for this part of the world in Orkney is quite unusual. But the last 3 Mondays it's been no wind, so that's great. How about
Okay,
you?
good, good. It's there's a kind of white clouds over Birmingham, but light, bright, light
Huh?
coming in. So yeah, not as bad as it might have been. Bits of rain, but nothing too terrible.
Good.
So let's go into the dates. What dates have you picked up for us?
Okay, I've got three today. The first one is Road Safety Week 2024. And this is an annual event dedicated to promoting road safety awareness and advocating for safer roads and responsible driving behavior. It aims to help reduce accidents and save lives by encouraging individuals, communities, and organizations to prioritize road safety measures. So it emphasizes the importance of responsible driving, pedestrian safety, and for me, this is the really important one, the need for improved road infrastructure.
Mm,
Um, so every year, more than 1,700 people die on UK roads. I mean, imagine if that was plane crashes.
yeah.
There would be absolute outrage and grounding of aircraft and all sorts of action. But we just
Mm,
seem to accept road death as inevitable in some way. So that's Road Safety Week, and where people are doing things like 20-mile-an-hour limits or um, little word I'm trying to remember, which is the opposite of shared. Um, Segregated roadways for pedestrians and separately for cyclists and separately
mm,
for motor vehicles. That's all very important.
mm.
The second event is no, it's not an event. It's a date. Second awareness day is Book Week Scotland. And I chose this because it's very closely related to our favorite subject on this program, which is, of course, um, public libraries. Um, it's an annual celebration of books and reading that takes place across Scotland. Um, and it's in its 13th year now. Um, and during the week, people of all ages and walks of life come together to share the joy of reading. It's organised by the Scottish Book Trust and has a curated programme of events and lots of partner agencies, including SLIC, the National Library Librarians Organisation. And they have lots of authors, poets, playwrights, storytellers, and illustrators, and helping to bring a packed programme of events and projects to life.
Mm.
So that's Scottish Book Week. I'm sure there's equivalent book weeks in other parts in your part of the UK. I don't know.
I'm sure.
Um, and finally, uh, we have World Children's Day, which is a UN day, and the the Secretary General of the United Nations has said that that's Antonio Guterres. On World Children's Day, we celebrate the youngest members of our human family. But today is also a moment to recognize the enormous challenges children face in our deeply divided, tumultuous, and often violent world. And a kind of motto this year is for every child, every right.
Mm.
The day was first established in 1954 as Universal Children's Day and is celebrated on 20th of November each year to promote international togetherness, awareness among children worldwide, and improvements in children's welfare. And November the 20th, which is the date that it's actually the date of the day itself, is important because it's the date in 1959 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Declaration of Rights of the Child. It's also the day in 1989 when the UN General Assembly adopted the Conventions on the Rights of the Child. Now, I must confess, I'm surprised that that's so recent, that 1989
Mm.
date, but there we are. It
Mm.
is. So since 1990, World Children's Day also marks the anniversary of the date that the UN General Assembly adopted both the Declaration and the Convention on on Children's Rights. These UN dates are quite often the dates of adoptions of resolutions or whatever.
Mm.
But World Children's Day offers each of us an inspirational entry point to advocate, promote, and celebrate children's rights, translating into dialogues and actions that will build a better world for children. And I guess that there are all sorts of parts of the world at the moment where this isn't being recognized particularly well, but we can only hope and work towards better rights and lives for children.
Mm.
And that's the dates.
Great, thank you very much. And we have a few events that we've picked up. The theme seems to be digital fundraising, which is no harm because we're always, volunteer organizations and the groups that who are more likely to listen to us are constantly looking for money to encourage and build digital inclusion and digital and online communication. So here's a couple of events that are coming up that might be of interest to people who listen to us and talk about us. So the first one is on Wednesday, the 20th of November this week, and it's called Getting Digital for Fundraising. And it is for Lewisham's Community Champions, a digital fundraising conference. And they promise to learn, network, and discover powerful digital tools to supercharge your fundraising. They say whether you're new to technology or a seasoned pro, this conference is tailor made for you. They're saying there'll be expert insights. They have a sponsor, Plinth, talking about free and budget friendly software to simplify your work and skyrocket your fundraising success. Plinth, and I've heard of Plinth before, it's an all in one AI platform designed to help community organizations streamline operations, secure funding, and measure impact through features like grant writing, case management, and data analysis. They're saying what's in store also is discovering new solutions. Sponsors QLIC, who I've also heard of through locality, and others will be helping us explore a wide array of digital tools for fundraising and boosting your organization's effectiveness. They talk about connecting and collaborating, networking with other passionate community groups in Lewisham, and sharing valuable ideas. And finally, hands on demos. Get personalised advice and explore exciting new digital resources at our exhibitor booths. So that sounds like a not to be missed event for people in Lewisham. I don't know whether you have to prove you're from Lewisham to attend this event, but it's worthwhile contacting the organisers and seeing if you're interested, if you'd like to go along.
I think I'm
Um,
detecting that they might be onto the wait list for tickets from
aha,
the site, but
okay, well
nevertheless,
done.
and I like the idea of a delicious light lunch and refreshments. That's the beauty of an in-person event.
Yes, absolutely. Always good, always good. And the second fundraising event is in Hertfordshire. And this calls itself a free digital fundraising half-day course in Hertfordshire. Through the digital fundraising course, they say you can find creative ways to reach new and broader audiences, explore the wide digital landscape, discuss the pros and cons of a variety of popular digital platforms, such as social media, quoting Facebook, email marketing tools, for example, Mailchimp, and third-party fundraising platforms, e.g. Just Giving, and where to focus your efforts and resources. And in this course, they say you will gain insights and examples of digital practice to help your digital fundraising strategy. So again, looks like it's kind of targeted at organisations and individuals in Hertfordshire. But if you're interested, I don't know is there a waiting list on that one, Sweyn, or
No, there seems to be
do we
tickets
know?
for
Oh,
that,
okay,
so they're
okay,
still
so that's on
available.
Thursday. So we'd love to hear from you if you're involved in fundraising for digital and what that's like. I talk about it regularly at work, but I don't think we've had anybody on the show talking about
I don't think we
fundraising
have.
actually.
No, I
No.
don't think we have.
So if anybody wants to join us and talk about that, you're more than welcome. We'd love to hear from you. Or if you want to nominate somebody else to talk about it, that would be great. Okay, we don't have a guest today. We do have several guests lined up for the next few weeks and even into January and February now, Sweyn. We're kind
Yes,
of
I noticed that.
expanding our
Yes, we're
our reach to commit people for the next few months, but no one today. However, I have come hot foot from the Lloyds Bank Consumer Digital Index and Essential Digital Skills launch event, which is in fact still going on as we speak. And that was this morning in London, and also lots of people joining online on Teams. Wasn't the best experience on Teams, I have to say. Um,
Ah,
but the video will be available soon, and then people can watch it for themselves. So we have, I was able to get some screenshots from the presentation. I don't know if
yes.
Swain's
I'm
able
going to
to
try and share them. It's not going to look
share.
brilliant, but
Yeah,
I'll share them anyway.
no,
Um,
just to give people some idea of
yeah, there we
what
go.
was being talked
That
about.
was that's the
Um,
best I can do, I'm afraid.
Okie dokie. So the agenda was after the welcome, I've talked about insights and collective action, digital participation, helping our customers and the UK to grow, that customers being Lloyds Bank customers, delivering an inclusive UK together, and then they're doing some breakout rooms for people in the room, I think. I don't think they're doing breakouts for people on Teams. I could be wrong.
Oh dear.
But yeah, there we go. They have a Slido what you call, you know,
QR code
Slido, yeah, platform
link.
going link,
Yes.
yeah. Um and that's still available, I think, if anybody wants to try and tap into that one. Um but in the meantime, we're just talking about what else is available. And let me make sure I'm on the right page. Um yeah, the three people on the stage first were Sarah Weller, the chair of Money Advice and Pension Service, Jane Opperman, the CEO of Consumer Relationships at Lloyds Banking Group, and Rebecca Stevens, the deputy director for Digital Skills and Inclusion Unit at the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. And I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of the person who was interviewing them, another woman from Lloyds, as far as I could tell. Um, so there was a good discussion, and some of the highlights were well, there was a video shown, and again, unfortunately, the people on Teams didn't couldn't hear the audio of the video, so that wasn't a great great experience. But again, the video will be available shortly, so people can watch it for themselves. So they talked about various things, and some of the things I was able to glean were from David McNeil from SCVO, who is actually in the room and was tweeting. Um, Thank you, David, for your sterling efforts. I did tweet myself to say, "Oh, for the days of live tweeting." Unfortunately, nobody was doing that today. But two things that David pointed out was that Sarah Waller did say that the new financial inclusion strategy will have an element of digital inclusion for the first time, which is great to hear. And
Good.
also, he said there was an indication from Rebecca Stevens that there may be things to say about a digital inclusion strategy early in the new year, which would be brilliant to hear. It is something we've talked about before um, on this show, and in fact, it was one of the questions that I put on the Slido to encourage people to talk in the room to talk about it maybe. So the other two screen grabs I was able to get was about the collective action that they talked about. Um, so collective delivery, campaigning and cross department. So it sounds like there's some positive moves in that direction. And then under collective action, they talked about coalition, working in coalition, and in the West Midlands we already have a coalition for digital inclusion. So hopefully we're ahead of the posse. Connected delivery campaign, cross department, and consistent measurement. Um, there was recognition that we need data on this, to kind of keep up to, and we do often quote on this show, lots of data, and data from other countries as well. So we know the importance of being able to measure improvements and so on. So there's some screenshots, not brilliant, but hopefully give you some flavor of
So
the launch of the event.
finally found the
Um,
last one, just too late.
yeah, no worries. So it's on screen
We'll
now.
maybe come back to this next week, and we might have a link
It'd be
to
good
the report and
to
so on
discuss
next
it
week.
more. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And we certainly want to share the video when it's
Yeah.
available so people can
But
watch it for themselves.
you can't say that we don't bring you up-to-date information because that is an event that is literally still going on as we speak. So there we are.
Absolutely. Haven't seen any more updates on the Slido.
It is a shame.
So yeah,
It is a shame what you say about the online experience of that meeting. I mean, an organization the size of Lloyd's, I dare I say, ought to have the resources to to understand that a hybrid meeting is more than just pointing a camera at people in a room, and B, to actually, include the people that are online in the breakout rooms in some way.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
it's not it's not straightforward if you haven't done it before, but it's neither is it rocket science or beyond the skill. And I should say, John Popham, our founder here on the program, um, would be always keen to make sure that people who attend things online, and it's great that the option to attend online is
Mm,
provided,
mm,
but if you do that, then you've got to nowadays, I think, just think it through a bit, and possibly have some of your own people attending in an online fashion only, to kind of be the link between in
yeah,
the room and the people online. Anyway,
absolutely. So thanks
that's
again
my
to
hobby
David.
horse.
Thanks again to David McNeil from SCVO for tweeting to some extent, and also a shout out for James Muscat Sharp, who's a new employee of Good Things Foundation, someone I knew in Birmingham. He's now gone on to work for Good Things Foundation, and he also wrote a bit on LinkedIn about the event. So, if you're wanting to find anything else online, they're saying follow the hashtag Consumer Digital Index. I didn't find loads, to be honest, so I hope there'll be more maybe once people have a chance to process what's been discussed today, and maybe we'll hear more from the breakout rooms in due course. But as you say, we'll hopefully be able to talk about it more next week and revisit it then. Okay, moving on, we will carry on with some of our usual kind of stories, and the first one is LinkedIn has become my happy hunting ground for digital inclusion stories now, Sweyn, because X is kind of steadily decreasing in usefulness, shall we
Yes.
say? If we don't want to say anything more about it, but yeah. So LinkedIn has does is having some stories, and this one was picked up from Kenya Bratton, the CEO of Duke Learning Services, and the title is "Digital Inclusion: A Myth for Disabilities." So Kenya is an adult educational professional, and she discovered that successful digital inclusion comes from a combination of simple tools and supportive instruction. And I found this useful because sometimes we forget about how simple sometimes things can be. So she gives us some guidance about um, what they found useful kind of supporting disabled people, learning disabled people. And there, she's saying the key is guided practice, whether virtual or in person, that builds confidence and reduces digital resistance. Kenya serves adult learners from their 20s to their 80s, and many, she says, have spent years finding workarounds for learning differences, often avoiding technology out of past frustrations. We can relate to that. Despite the myth that it is a challenge for people with learning disabilities to become digitally proficient, these learners are practical, resilient, and quick to embrace tools that offer immediate value to their lives. Many have learning disabilities that were never properly addressed in their earlier education. She says some have not had formal education, not interested in technology for technology's sake. They want digital tools to solve real problems in their daily lives, specifically because adult education may be a benchmark or the end of their journey. So Kenny goes on to share three what she calls low-power digital tools with high impact for learning and independence. And she says she uses these same tools for adults without disabilities who are digital resistant. Great term there. I don't think we've heard that recently. Generally, when educating adult learners with learning disabilities, she says universal learning strategies benefit the educational environment. So she says before listing specific tools, keep these thoughts in mind. First, teachers model each digital skill, so a good thing to think about when you're teaching somebody. Secondly, learners practice with immediate feedback. Thirdly, support is available both virtually and in person. Fourthly, skills are broken down into manageable steps. And fifth, practice is repeated until confidence builds. And that sounds like a good model for lots of us to adopt when we're trying to teach somebody anything really. So thanks, Kenny, for that. And then she goes on to um, list the three tools that she says have high impact for learning and independence. And the first one is smartphones. And she specifically talks about the personal management of login data. She says adult learners often struggle with remembering multiple usernames, passwords, and account information across various platforms. By leveraging their existing comfort with smartphone use, we transform this challenge into a solution. So there's some guidance there further down in the article, which we will provide a link to on our YouTube page to go more into that. So that's smartphones as the first one, personal management of login data. Secondly, she talks about Google Keep, which I haven't used very much, but I might look into it more. And she says this is digital organization made simple. Think of Google Keep as a digital post-it board and helpful tool many do not know exist on their devices. Many adult learners find Keep easier to grasp than Google Docs, while still building valuable digital skills and transfer to other applications. So, if anybody else knows more about Keep than we do and wants to come on the program and talk about it, we'd love to hear from them. It sounds like
Yes.
something we should look into a
I
bit
have
more.
never heard of Google Keep. I must have a look at
Okay.
that.
Mm. Okay. And thirdly, she talks about Google applied digital skills, and this is definitely something I haven't heard of. Self-paced with support. I don't even know if this is available worldwide. It probably is. She says it's a free online platform offering video-based hands-on lessons that teach essential digital skills through practical projects. For example, learning everything about the Google platform, creating resumes, planning projects, and much more. Designed for various ages and skill levels, it promotes digital inclusion by making digital literacy accessible to all, regardless of background. So there, she says, through real-world applications, step-by-step guidance, and interactive templates supporting equitable access to digital knowledge. There are over 200 lessons available for free for educators and learners. Well,
It's
that is
good, yeah.
something brand new to me and you, I think, Swain. So, yeah,
Yes,
it's something we can
I
look
would
into
love
more.
to keep and Google keep and Google digital skills. Good
Mm,
tips.
yeah.
Applied digital skills, I should.
Mm, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
very good.
so I'll
Very
definitely
good.
be looking into that for my work. Um, I think if there is something there that we can share, that'd be
Hmm.
great because we do share things like the Digital Unite technology guides. I think there's 400 of those, over 400. So
Hmm.
I always found them useful, but there's even more stuff available, especially
Hmm.
video-based learning. Um, kind of because I search as a lot of us do, search YouTube for things from time to time in this field, and if they're all together under Google Applied Digital Skills, then we can just dip in there directly. Okay, we've got some videos to show as part of the show, but we will carry on with some of the stories, and then we have a few short videos to show you as well. The next article is entitled How to Ensure Digital Inclusion in Your Small Business. And this is by somebody called Dominic Dunlop, who's a web accessibility consultant and advocate. Again, a story from LinkedIn. And she talks about practical steps for digital inclusivity in small businesses. She says creating an inclusive digital environment is essential for small businesses. And here's how you can take practical steps towards inclusivity. And first of all, she says, what is digital inclusivity? This ensures that your online content and services are accessible to all users, including those with disabilities. And she says why it matters is by prioritizing inclusivity, you not only comply with digital legal standards, but also attract a broader customer base. And the key steps she delineates are to enhance digital inclusivity. First of all, evaluate your website, conduct an accessibility audit to identify barriers on your site. Number two, train your team. Provide accessibility training for your staff to raise awareness and equip them with best practices. Number three, engage with your audience. Seek feedback from customers regarding accessibility challenges they face while interacting with your business. Number four, utilize accessible design. Choose web design elements that are known for their accessibility features, such as high contrast colors and legible fonts. And fifthly, develop accessible content. Ensure all digital content, including documents and multimedia, is accessible and provide captions for videos and transcripts for audio. And she says by taking these practical steps, your small business can foster an inclusive digital environment that benefits everyone. Anything there you disagree with or want to reinforce, Wayne, from
No,
your
it's just, I mean,
experience?
it's just another of these sector-based restatements of what needs to be done. I mean, in the
Mm,
public sector, there is to some extent a kind of legal requirement that this all happen, and there's also some enforcement in the public sector in terms of cabinet office inspectors and so on that will look at your online website. But same thing applies to big businesses and in this case to small businesses. Yes,
mm, mm.
absolutely,
It's
absolutely.
interesting to see that she's saying, um, the it's you attract a broader customer base. One of the reasons for doing this is attracting a broader customer base,
Mm,
which is obviously an incentive for businesses,
yeah,
but incentive for any organization that has
yeah.
an online presence. So yeah, so some good again basic learning there that we can all kind of reinforce and benefit from. Okay, we're moving on. We've got a couple of short videos about Scotland's Digital Inclusion Charter, which we've covered in some recent shows as well. But no harm in reiterating and saying and kind of having some people on who could say for themselves why it's important to them. So first of all, we have Martina Johnston-Gray,
My name is Martina
NWGVSN,
Johnston-Gray, and I
sorry, Northwest Glasgow Voluntary Sector Network, talking about what her organisation does and why they are signatory to Scotland's Digital Inclusion Charter. Thanks, Swain.
My name is Martina Johnston-Gray and I run North West Glasgow Voluntary Sector Network. The network supports charities and community groups in the northwest of Glasgow. We do that in kind of many ways. The main ways are we advocate for them in decision-making structures. We also provide opportunities for them to meet. We have regular meetings, network meetings. We also support local meetings that are in kind of local areas. And we provide kind of newsletters and kind of social media as well, so people can advertise what they're doing and also find out about funding and other opportunities. So Plugged In was born out of the pandemic. At the beginning of the pandemic, members came to us and said that the people that they were working with and for didn't have devices. So I thought, well, we'll start an IT recycling project. And 4 and a bit years later, we're still doing it. At the beginning, it was really difficult to get donations of devices. It was usually just desktops that we got. And now we're really, really lucky. Local companies and further afield all donate to us on a regular basis, as do individuals too. And all our donations are important to us. It's not like an individual bringing an iPad or a phone is less important than a company that wants us to clear out their office. They're all important. Well, digital inclusion to me is part of the wider conversation about poverty and alleviating poverty. We have citizens in Glasgow that deserve more, and I see digital inclusion and having a device and internet and access and how to use it as a human right. I think we all have the right to have those devices in our homes and be able to use them. So it really is about all our members do incredibly important work, alleviating, poverty in the most basic ways of food, fuel, supporting children, supporting young adults, and supporting families and individuals. So this is just a part of the jigsaw we're able to do to support our members. So it really is a twofold thing. My passion for digital inclusion, but also as well to serve our members. That's a really important part of what we do too.
Great. It's obviously key to what they're doing as an organization, and it just reinforces the fact that voluntary organizations already have such a close relationship with people they're helping in the community that getting digital devices out to people as well in that way is a logical next step really for a lot of them.
Yeah.
And it's great the companies are supplying them with devices as well, and
We've
individuals.
seen a lot of this over the years, haven't we? I think it maybe started in the housing sector, and John Popham was involved in that many years ago, with kind of digital campaigns aimed at service users to enable service users to have a better life, basically. And I think that has spread into more and more third sector and public sector service providers to add to whatever else they're doing, this kind of digital engagement type thing, both to enable their service users to make more effective use of the services that the actual individual, that the actual organization is providing, but also generally to access other digital resources and make their lives better. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, and obviously, as you said, it started during lockdown, and it's carried on because lockdown just helped kind of brought to the surface, didn't it? So many people were excluded and needed some help. So well done to NWGVSN. Doesn't trip off the tongue, but
does it? But,
I'm sure
well done.
I'm sure they're well known to their local community. And then next we have Rona Hunter from Capital City Partnership, and this time it's from a corporate point of view of why they're signatory to the Scotland Digital Inclusion Charter.
So my name is Rona Hunter. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at Capital City Partnership, and I think we're a very interesting company that we are an arm's length external organisation of the council, but we're also a third sector and a charity organisation. And what we do is we commission on behalf of what's called the Local Employability Partnership. We use Scottish Government and UK Government funds to commission services to help people into employment, remove barriers, and do everything through an equalities lens. We also do work on the City Region Deal, on the skills agenda, and again, it's making long-term things more accessible for people who need more help to get onto that pathway out of poverty. Well, because we commission a lot of services, mostly from the third sector, to deliver to vulnerable groups, we very much encourage them, and we also follow the Scottish Government's approach to service design. So there's a lot of co-production and co-design goes on to ask people, what is it that you would like to see in the employability service? And time and again, digital literacy comes back as a critical factor. So we make sure that's in any specification that we're doing, so that somebody bidding in, they can use the funds to make sure they've got the capital equipment they need, or they can use it for revenue for staff, for having people to train. But we very much embed in that the digital literacy skills has to be part of that employability journey, because it is everywhere now. It's in everything, that expectation that you have that standard. So we have it within the application process. So we do a lot of co-production and co-design before we get to the actual specification and application. And in the application, we ask specific questions around how do you intend to address issues around things like digital literacy, because we know that people say that that is an area of demand. And that then means then that they can not only think about digital literacy skills, they can build it into the application process to say we're going to use some of the funds to address these issues.
Some very practical thinking there about, making funding applications and including digital literacy as part of the application, because so many funders that I know haven't been thinking about that very much. I know
Yes.
lockdown did concentrate the minds a lot, but I think people that think, to some extent, and we've said this before on the program, people think that's sorted now and we can just carry on back to business as usual, but it really isn't sorted. And we need to keep, making sure that people are getting devices and support that they need. So seeing an organization like that building it into the application process, just it's a mind shift that
Yeah,
it's great to see.
Capital City Partnership seems to be a kind of funding body, among other things, for organisations in Edinburgh to
Oh, okay.
address employability. And it's great to see, because all councils, certainly through Scotland and I'm sure through England and Wales as well, have some kind of employability skills remit in as part of their education and their business development. And it's great to see digital inclusion being really, again, adopted in as part of another service. And I was kind of piggybacked and giving better value to that service.
Yeah. Okay, and now we're going to head to Mongolia.
There we are.
Because our kind of trawling of the internet for good stories to have on the show takes us all over the world. And this is a story entitled "From Herding to Coding: The Mongolian NGO Bridging the Digital Divide." And this is from the UN. What's on screen? The UN World Economic Forum.
The World
Yeah.
Economic Forum,
Yeah.
yes.
So a nice picture on screen of people, hopefully, who've been trained. And the story tells us that UNESCO reports that only 35% of STEM graduates are women, a figure that has stagnated over the last decade. I think that's a higher number than in the UK, but anyway, it's still worrying that 51% of the world is female, or female identifying, and there's not that number of people using science, technology, engineering, and maths. They say that the gap is even more pronounced in rural and disadvantaged communities. Mongolia's Girls Code program was founded with the mission of empowering young girls with the coding skills needed to thrive in an increasingly digital world. By focusing on inclusivity, they say, we aim to ensure no one's left behind in the digitized future and to use technology to solve problems of inequality. So Girls Code offers 3-month boot camps over the summer school break, specifically targeting girls from nomadic and disadvantaged communities who do not have access to internet and educational resources. And over 110 girls between the ages of 14 to 18 from all over Mongolia have graduated. Some participants who at first did not know how to operate laptops are now studying at Ivy League universities on scholarships, whilst others are using their coding skills to work as part-time coders and funding their education and family with their income. This success is not just anecdotal, but reflects the powerful ripple effect of targeted interventions. So key impacts of this program include 90% of participants choose a STEM major after completing the program, improved proficiency in English and communication skills, stronger social engagement and community building in isolated regions, and graduates actively participating in national coding competitions, winning awards and securing scholarships to study abroad. So it sounds like a really positive effect on the community there. I'm not so sure whether improved proficiency in English is the be all and end all of things, but we do know that lots of work in this area is carried on in the English language. We'd like to hope that other languages, though, are also being developed to. So we don't get kind of the English colonization of tech, the tech world. That we understand other communities also have important things to say in other languages.
You
So
mentioned
carrying,
the UK, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
just did a quick Google, and you're right. The percentage of STEM graduates in the UK is 26%, which
okay, so
compares
it's
with
lower.
Mongolia
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
35%. So, yeah.
Good. Well, that's a good comparison to have in
Mm.
in the top of our minds. The article goes on to say, working on Girls' Code, the Nomadic Girls Association in the Digital Age NGO also received many requests from parents with boys and even herders who wanted to understand technology better. In countries like Mongolia that lack upskilling and reskilling programs, there's obvious demand across the board. So, with the goal of democratizing access to AI and offering education and coding for learners of all ages and to underrepresented groups other than girls, they started the AI Academy Asia platform. So, with AI Academy Asia, whose motto is AI for all, they say we aim to close the skills gap in AI and coding, which is critical to the future of work. A major barrier to AI adoption identified in IBM's 2024 Global AI Adoption Index is the shortage of skilled professionals, with 33% of companies identifying the limited AI skills and expertise as the top challenge. The global market for AI is expected to grow from 184 billion in 2024 to 826 billion, wow, by 2030. That's for 6 years. Yet millions of jobs requiring AI skills remain unfilled. We conclude our coverage of this article saying through accessible, mobile-friendly content that can be downloaded for offline use, AI Academy Asia ensures that even students in regions with limited internet access can benefit. So they're doing all sorts of thinking across, outside the box to make sure that people don't get left out of this, Sweyn, which is inspiring to see.
Indeed.
In a country that probably faces a few more challenges than the UK. So it's good to kind of recognize that, and yeah,
Yep,
well done to them, and
absolutely.
yeah, we look forward to hearing more about that. Okay, we're back to videos, and this one is a brief one about the key aspects of the UK's digital divide. Just a reminder, really, of some of the things we already know, and this has been put together by somebody called Vicky Diagier, and it's from YouTube. Key aspects of the UK's digital divide.
Yes, and when I find it, I will share it. There we are.
In 2023, 96% of UK adults have used the internet in the past 3 months. An impressive figure, though it's slightly down from the previous year. Despite this, 2.1 million adults are still offline, and 4.7 million people struggle with Wi-Fi connectivity, showing that access issues persist. A staggering 25% of UK adults have very low digital skills, and 54% of the workforce is not maximising its potential due to a lack of digital abilities. On the positive side, 14.1 million people now have the highest level of digital skills, showing a rise in digital engagement across the country. Over 2/3 of those with ultra-low digital skills are aged 70 or older, while 84% of individuals aged 60 plus are online. Income plays a major role, with 59% of people in the lowest digital skills group earning less than £20,000 per year. The cost of living crisis has also led 12.2 million people to search for cheaper internet or mobile plans. Around 9.7 million people still struggle with basic tasks like setting up privacy settings, showing how digital skills gaps disproportionately affect vulnerable groups. Areas continue to face greater challenges with digital access compared to urban areas, which tend to have higher engagement rates. Being digitally literate isn't just a one-time achievement, it's an ongoing process. As technology evolves, so too must our skills to keep up with the digital world.
One of the reasons I thought that was an interesting video was because it seemed to be made by AI. If you looked at the watermark on
Yes,
the
I
top
noticed that.
left, yeah, Pictory.ai. And some of those figures, they'll have been updated more recently by the Lloyds Bank report, but they are still startling. And it said something like, over 84% of people are online, age 60 plus. But then it also said that in the previous script, most older people than 60 aren't using the internet. So like there's something between 60 and 75, maybe people start not
Yeah.
to use the internet anymore. I don't know whether
Yeah.
it's, we are encouraging people to be online through this program, but we're not saying that's the only way to live your life. And those figures about the rural communities not being online or having less engagement, maybe it's more interesting and more satisfying to live in a rural community and
Maybe
not have to be online for
that could
your
be a factor indeed.
connection.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Maybe.
So we're just encouraging people, I think, to have a critical mindset about all of this.
Mm.
So while we do see great things, we also see it's not the be all and end all. As long as people can still tell their stories, that's the main thing.
Mm.
And so this brings us to our next story, which is celebrating digital inclusion success stories. And this is from our friends at Charity Digital, the organization that also publishes great stories and regular information for people who are in the charity digital field. And this is what they describe as 3 wins for digital inclusion in recent years and how they were achieved. And the first one is about Rochdale, which installed mesh networks. The story says that in 2020, when the UK started going into lockdowns due to the spread of COVID-19, it became clear just how many people did not have access to the internet. At the same time, many of the services needed for daily life were moving online to minimise the spread of the virus, meaning that those who did not already have access were put at further disadvantage. So that kind of repeats what we've been saying earlier in the programme, really. In Rochdale, the Borough Council found a new way to address these growing inequalities. Using a grant for community connectivity, the council realised the most effective way to help local people get online was by installing a mesh network. Are you able to quickly explain what a mesh network is, Sweyn?
It's a network. It's basically why. Oh, I've clicked on something. Excuse me. It's basically a way of providing Wi-Fi across a wider area than just a home. So you're about to read out that this in this case it enables 4,000 people living in 7 tower blocks to use the internet for free. That will have been by providing Wi-Fi across the area.
Yeah. So great success for Rochdale from 2020. So it'd be interesting if anybody from Rochdale or from the council who installed it or who's benefited from it would like to come on the show and talk about it. We'd love to hear from you and see how you're getting on with it now, 4 years on. The second of the 3 wins for digital inclusion is titled Charities Champion Online Safety, and this was the Online Safety Act 2023, informed by many charities' tireless campaigns for safer digital experiences for their service users. Over 5 years, the article says the NSPCC campaigned to transform the online world for children and young people. As part of this, they received 135,000 signatures across 3 petitions and worked with 11,000 supporters to email their MP, reaching every MP in Parliament. The charity also arranged meetings between young people and peers to have their voices heard on the bill. Meanwhile, the anti-online abuse charity Glitch campaigned to amend the Online Safety Act to explicitly address the safety of women and girls. The campaign's success was the result of an awareness-raising campaign with EE Hope United, as well as obtaining over 100,000 signatures on a petition to ensure women and girls' safety is protected. And then Samaritans campaigned for the Act to maximise the Internet's role in suicide prevention and prevent harmful content. This included submitting evidence to the Law Commission, working with supporters to tell the government to make addressing the issue a priority and spread the word to MPs, publishing influential research and raising their recommendations to parliamentarians. So that sounds like a more three-pronged at least approach to the Online Safety Act 2023, which we know was in great need. Safer digital experiences, we all want that for people. If they are going to be online, we want them to be safe. So, especially children, young people, women and girls. So, yeah, well done to the organisations involved who campaigned on that, especially the Samaritans, because, the internet can be a place where people find connection as well as sometimes not so great things. So we would like to prevent the harmful content if we can help to prevent it. Well done to all of those. And the final of the 3 stories about digital inclusion success stories is the British Red Cross, which expanded healthcare access. And the story says that identifying a lack of evidence about access to healthcare for people seeking asylum, the British Red Cross partnered with Democratic Society to research the issue, and in 2023 produced the report Offline and Isolated: How Digital Exclusion Impacts Access to Healthcare for People Seeking Asylum in England. And I'm sure we talked about that on the show when it came out, because we would have seen that. This research was co-produced by peer researchers who had lived experience of seeking asylum in England. Among the finding of the research was the fact that online health platforms like the NHS app were inaccessible, with some reporting the app did not accept application and registration cards, which are issued to people seeking asylum from the Home Office and are often asylum seekers' only form of identification. So I think the article goes on to say that they talked to the NHS about that and they got it sorted out, didn't they? They mapped out key decision makers and stakeholders, working out who has the power to make the necessary changes. So they identified NHS Digital as a stakeholder for the registration cards. They had a roundtable with NHS Digital. They demonstrated how a small change of policy would have an incredible effect on the populations of asylum seekers the British Red Cross works with, and that was a success. And then the NHS Digital were able to add application registration cards as a valid form of ID on the NHS app. That's brilliant. That's just such a great story.
That's really good. Yes, that's just identified a problem and just gone at it and solved it. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great.
So well done. Great to hear these success stories. We do know good things happen. And to go back to John, our founder, telling stories was one of the main ways he identified as people, communicating, connecting, making life better for everybody. So yeah, we love to hear stories like this. So well done, everybody involved in that. And we have another short video now about digital exclusion in Northern Ireland. We have lots of voices on this show, and Northern Irish people are one of them. So let's hear about how access to the internet is a human right in Northern Ireland.
Oh.
Really excited to be here. We have a number of volunteers here today, and it's really about celebrating them and the commitment that they've given to Advice NI in supporting people to get online. Today, I really hope to raise awareness of the need for digital inclusion to help people get online more confidently. And to raise awareness of the support needs, and to thank the funders for the support that they've given us to allow this to happen, because we really are working with some of the most excluded people and helping them to access services, which is really essential.
Hi, I'm Heidi Foster, CEO of Ancosan in Ireland, and I'm here in Belfast with Advice NI to discuss digital inclusion as a human right. And I'm really excited to explore cross-border collaboration as it relates to digital inclusion.
Today's event was an opportunity to bring the volunteers together and celebrate all of the work that they do. We couldn't deliver our projects without the input of our volunteers.
And increasingly, to do that, you need to be able to go online safely, securely, and with confidence. And as more and more services transition to online, for example, whether it be banking, whether it be universal credit, whether it be e-visa, it is becoming increasingly difficult for those who need those services, who need to access those services, to get online. So really, it's a human rights issue, it's a social justice issue. I don't believe that any one organisation can solve this, the issue of the digital divide, although I do think it's very solvable. I think it will take a lot of organisations, and if we all do our bit, it's very possible. I think our digital champions are at the absolute forefront, and the work that they have done to get people online and again with confidence and build up their skills their work, I couldn't say enough about it. They're fantastic. They're at the forefront and they're absolutely brilliant for what they do. And our digital champions are all volunteers. And I will never underestimate the ripple effect that getting those skills into people's lives, into families, and also getting a device and the data to be able to access services that can help people improve their lives should never be underestimated.
So well done, Advice NI, for bringing all those people together and giving people a chance to celebrate the great work that goes on. I think the some of the sound issues at the beginning of that video were because they were recording
They're recording a Zoom call, I think.
Yeah, something like
And
that.
yes.
Yeah.
No, never mind. We got the message. Advice NI is the equivalent to the Citizen Advice, but
I
in
think it
Northern
would
Ireland,
be.
I
I
think
think
it
it would
is.
be.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think this event was an all island effort. So they had people from the Republic and Northern Ireland together. I think that's happening increasingly, or at least it certainly is happening a lot more than it used to.
Good.
With
great.
events in Ireland, so that's great to
Yep.
see. So it's a cross-border issue, so it's
Sure is.
yeah, working together is the answer, as we all know. Okay, and our final article for today was something that I thought was really interesting, and it's we're gonna revisit it again later in the year because it's an event coming up. But this is the Cities Coalition of Digital Rights, and the article is entitled "Positioning Cities as Champions for Digital Inclusion: Recommendations from the Cities Coalition for Digital Rights." And the Cities Coalition for Digital Rights was launched by the cities of Amsterdam, Barcelona, and New York in November 2018, and now with a membership of over 60 cities worldwide, and that includes Dublin, Glasgow, Leeds, Liverpool, and London. Is a network of cities helping each other in the green field of digital rights-based policymaking. The coalition is committed to promoting and defending digital rights in urban contexts through city action to resolve common digital challenges and work towards legal, ethical, and operational frameworks to advance human rights in digital environments. And so they're presenting its advocacy paper titled "Positioning Cities as Champions for Digital Inclusion." They say that as key actors in the daily lives of our residents, we, cities and local governments, witness the profound digital inequalities that run through our society. And far from being an abstract issue, the digital divide and the exposure to the ethical, financial, and social risks linked to digital technologies produce multiple collective and individual effects that cities and their residents face on a daily basis. When facing the digital divide, cities can be agile testbeds for new policies and rules, and can actively promote digital inclusion at the local level. In this spirit, they have developed practices and projects to measure, reduce, and compensate for digital inequalities on the ground. And the final point in that section of points is a priority for the city's coalition of digital rights is to drive unceasing efforts to combat the digital divide, whether economic, generational, disability related, or based on origin. We aim at responding to the growing needs on digital topics from residents and to tackle digital inequalities on the ground. And to support cities in their efforts towards digital inclusion at local level, the CC4DOR is how they, make an acronym of the Cities Coalition, is providing recommendations in the following fields. And there are 5 recommendations. Firstly, to develop essential basic digital skills for the population. Secondly, supporting residents in the short term to carry out their administrative procedures online. Thirdly, ensuring equal access to the services and participation in the digital space. Fourthly, recreating the link between residents and public institutions. And fifthly, scaling up and adopting good practices in cities to other municipalities. Nothing new there, Sweyn, but it's good to see them collectively coming together. And in fact, somebody at the Consumer Digital Index launch on the Slido, I did see somebody saying about, we're all reinventing the wheel here. Why don't we just bring everything together in a way like this? And it's interesting to see the cities that have already signed up to this, over 60. So that's really good to
Yes.
see. The paper, the article says that I saw on LinkedIn was released by Mission 4 of the CC4DR, which aims to demonstrate tangible solutions for digital inclusion cities. This is the first, they say, in the series of position papers that we released one by one, leading up to the International Digital Rights Days, IDRD, on 10th and 11th of December 2024. So that was what I was leading up to. There's going to be more stuff about the International Digital Rights Days. And I think if digital inclusion is seen more as a right than a responsibility, or as both, then it can only be for the good of everything we've been trying to do, and for the good of people we support.
Certainly,
So
there's been a theme today of digital inclusion as a human right. It's come up in 2 or 3 different stories.
yeah,
And I remember when I first heard about the idea of broadband as a digital right. I think Finland was the first country to incorporate that into some kind of minimum standard broadband service as an absolute right for all of its citizens. I don't think an awful lot of other countries have gone down that route. And of course, it's all digital inclusion is about more than broadband. But it's interesting to see all these thoughts kind of coalescing around digital inclusion as a right,
yeah.
which may shape the argument and the sector in the period ahead. Yeah.
Great. Okay, and that brings us to the end of our program for today. Thank you very much for joining us. As we said throughout the program, please, if you think you can add a story to what we're talking about, if you'd like to be on the show yourself to talk about your work or the work of another organisation, we'd love to hear from you. We're available on most of the usual platforms, certainly LinkedIn, and please do contact us and talk about coming on the program. We have some slots available through to February and March of next year. But for now, let's say goodbye and hope you have a great week. Thanks very much.
Right.
Bye.